Switched On, our series where we explore the worlds of business, technology and much more. I'm joined today by technology entrepreneur Dr. Michael Snowden. Today we're going to look at cloud computing. It's revolutionised the way we do business. But Michael, what exactly is cloud computing?
Let me give you an example. So in New Zealand, around about 8% of homes use tank water. They're in the rural area or they are batches. And the problem of having your own tap water coming from a tank is you have to worry about the quality. Is it safe to drink? More importantly, if there's a drought, do you have enough? But if you were offered the opportunity to have water come to you that you could drink at any time, you could get as much as you want as the tap's flowing, and you only pay for what you use, it's a good metaphor for the idea of cloud computing. What
kinds of businesses in particular benefit from utilising technology like cloud computing?
I think any company would benefit. Some organisations that have multiple branches, for example, where there's communications, perhaps a high security risk, there's a number of different ways that every company will benefit.
How is it going to affect the way they go about their business, especially as you point out if they are in a growth phase?
If they're in a growth phase, they don't have to worry about where they get the computing from. So a good example is until about 2005, if you started a company for, say, a web startup, you would need a lot of infrastructure, a lot of servers, a big investment in information technology, the people to run it, to make sure you could scale up to handle all the inquiries. With cloud computing, it takes away all those problems and simply means it will scale according to what you actually need and you only pay for it.
Given that we live in this little old corner of the world called New Zealand, does cloud computing offer businesses here a chance to take on the major players around the world?
It's an equalizer, or democratizer if you like, large enterprise computing, because you can access the same computing capability that the largest firms have. And in recent years, some of the major players have added services onto their cloud computing platform. For example, artificial intelligence as a service, or other advanced and growing capabilities like analytics, which you wouldn't be able to do easily with your own equipment.
Now, when it comes to these huge amounts of data and how we're sharing them and can access this information so quickly, comes with it the risks to our privacy and our security. How do you balance those two things?
Very, very difficult. I think we've got to look for some legislative direction here, and we're seeing that coming out of Europe, and very recent announcement that we're going to have more protection for residents in Europe. I think the outcome from the Facebook analysis with Cambridge Analytica and the two houses asking him questions, it's become transparent to the world about how data is used in many respects. Facebook, for example, you are the product. You've given them your information, which they can then sell to advertisers. The unique thing with perhaps Netflix and Google, they've got your data, but they tend to use it for your benefit, if that makes sense.
I mean, it seems like just an impossible balance. There is no perfect answer, is there?
Yes, it's risk and return. So on one end you have, you don't participate at all, and on the other end you give everything out and you hope that someone's going to look after it, but there is no driver, there's no compelling reason, generally speaking, for some of those organisations to treat your data with care, and you can see this now with the revelations from Cambridge Analytica.
Despite some of the risks of sharing our data and these enormous amounts of data that are being collected, there are some clear benefits to us as human beings, things like healthcare. Can you run me through some of the ways that it's really enhancing the way we live our lives?
Well, if you took healthcare, for example, the biggest problem is actually getting the sharing of electronic health records, or even getting the records into electronic form, and then to be shared by physicians and giving appropriate access. So with that kind of information, it enables physicians to make the right choices that they may not otherwise take. And the rate of death from the wrong or misdiagnosis is very, very high. The ability to collect the medical records, as it were, anonymized, in other words, no one knows who they belong to, but having a large data set to do statistical analysis and understand what the relationships are, perhaps between a treatment style and an outcome, that gives researchers a whole new range of dealing with literally millions of cases that would be impossible to do on an individual researcher basis previously.
I mean, you talk about hyperclouds. What is next? What's coming?
Bigger. better, brighter. There's no limit in sight. And I think we should recognise that all of this is underpinned by this idea of Moore's law. Because all of these technologies we talk about are all driven by this idea of Moore's law, which was attributed to Gordon Moore, one of the original co-founders of the microprocessor. It's not a law in the sense of a physics law of physics, but it's a guideline that every 18 to 24 months, the amount of power from a processor tends to double. But it's not just 1 year, it doubles every 2 years. So it's 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. And that's an exponential curve, and humans have a great deal of difficulty in understanding what that's going to mean for the future, because humans think pretty much linearly, whereas exponential means we're going to have massive changes in computing power. Our real challenge and opportunities are like, if you like, is to understand how we can harness that power for the better.
So excuse the pun, but the sky is the limit.
Not Skynet though.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
Thank you.